If you're writing AI voice agent prompts by just typing, writing out the call flows as paragraphs and hoping the logic holds, I want to show you something that completely changed how I build my AI voice/conversational agents. It's called Mermaid, it's free, it's text-based, and your AI can already read it. I use Mermaid to plan every single voice agent I build, and in some cases I put the text-only diagram directly into the prompt itself, and the AI model can handle it perfectly. By the end of this video, you'll know how to do both. In a recent video, I talked about call flows, the mini programs inside your prompt that handle each type of call or conversation. But there's a problem I didn't get into. When you write a call flow as text, you can't see the branching.
Step 3. If the caller describes the emergency, switch to emergency handling.
If they give an address, validate the postcode. If the postcode lookup fails, try again. If it fails twice, take the details manually.
That reads fine. Maybe I was a bit melodramatic, but what happens when you've got 5 of those branches? 10? What happens when a single repair booking needs to handle all of those possibilities? In text format, you're going to lose track, and more importantly, the AI model will lose track. You end up with dead ends. Mermaid is a text-based diagramming language invented by Swedish developer Knut Svedqvist. You write it in plain text, just words, arrows, and brackets, and it renders as a flowchart, or a sequence diagram, or a state diagram, whatever you need. Here's a tiny example, 5 lines of text, and you get a clean flowchart with boxes, decisions, and arrows. You can write this in any text editor. It renders in VS Code, on GitHub, in Notion, and there's a free live editor at mermaid.live where you paste it in and see the diagram instantly. Now here's the reason this matters for voice agents specifically. Large language models, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever you're using, can read Mermaid natively. They understand the syntax and they can generate it from scratch. That means you can take your existing voice agent prompt, ask AI to map this as a Mermaid flowchart, and it will. And suddenly you can see your entire call flow, every branch, every dead end, every loop. That's what we're going to look at now. 2 use cases. First, using Mermaid to plan your prompt before you write it. Second, putting the Mermaid diagram directly inside the prompt as the actual instruction. This is where most people should start, and it's where you'll get the biggest immediate benefit. Before I write a single line of prompts for a new agent, I map the call flow in Mermaid. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to use the Hartwell heating example from the last video, the fictional boiler company. If you haven't seen that video, the link's in the description. You can download the full example prompt from there too. Right, here's the repair booking flow as a Mermaid diagram. Let's walk through it. The call starts at the top. First, the decision. Did the caller just say hello, or did they open with their reason for calling? That's a branch. If they say hello, we greet them and ask how we can help. If they've already said my boiler's broken, we skip the greeting and get straight into it. Next, collect the name, understand the problem, then another decision. Is this an emergency? If yes, we branch out to emergency handling. Address collection, there's a door number, there's a postcode. Then we call a tool, that might be the postcode lookup tool. Did it succeed? If yes, confirm the address and move on. If no, and this is the one that catches people, what happens? In the diagram, I can see the branch clearly. We reconfirm the details and we try again. If it fails again, we tell the caller we'll confirm manually and we move on. Without this diagram, I promise you most people would forget to write that second failure path. The agent would just loop, asking for the postcode again and again, or trying to figure out a smart solution that's outside of your guardrails. See this right here? That's a dead end. If I'd written this flow as text, there's no instruction for what happens when the caller doesn't want any of the available time slots. The agent would freeze, or worse, it would make something up. And in the diagram, it's obvious. There's a box with no arrow coming out of it. That's a bug. I can see it before I've written a single line of prompt. So that's the process. I describe what I want the agent to do, either from scratch or by pasting in an existing prompt, and I ask my AI copilot to generate the Mermaid diagram. I look at the diagram, I try to find the gaps, I fix them in the diagram, then I write the prompts from the fixed diagram. It's a bit like proofreading, but visual. You can see the logic instead of trying to read it in plain text. Here's where things get really interesting, and this is the thing that surprised me the most. You can put your Mermaid diagram directly into your agent prompt. The diagram is the call flow instruction. The model reads the nodes, follows the arrows, and executes the logic step by step. Look at the scale of this. This is one call flow, and it has, what, 30 plus nodes? And if you look closely here, it becomes really obvious why this is called Mermaid. If I'd written this as text, it would be pages and pages, hundreds of lines long, and pages of nested bullet points, indented substeps, this then that, otherwise see above. It'd be a nightmare to debug and a nightmare for the model to parse. As a Mermaid diagram, every path is explicit, every branch has an arrow pointing somewhere. If it doesn't, I know something's missing. Now here's an important bit. The Mermaid diagram doesn't replace the rest of the prompt. If you watched a previous video, you know I use 5 sections in my agent prompts. The Mermaid handles section 4, the call flow, the sequence, the what happens when. But your global rules in section 2 are still plain text and they still govern the how. Things like tone, pacing, how to handle abusive calls, those stay as text rules because they apply to every node in the diagram, not just one path. And there's a practical benefit here I genuinely didn't realize at the time. When a customer or client asks me, what does my agent do? What does it call flow look like? I can now just show them the Mermaid diagram and they can see it. They can point at a box and say, I want this step to say something different. Let me give you something practical you can do today. If you've already got a voice agent running with text-based flows, paste that entire prompt into your AI copilot and say, convert my call flows into Mermaid flowcharts. You'll immediately see things you missed, dead ends, missing branches, steps that don't connect. It's like getting an X-ray of your own prompt. To actually see the diagram, you've got several options. Mermaid Live Editor at mermaid.live is great. You paste in your code and the diagram appears. There's no signups to test it. VS Code with the Mermaid extension renders in the preview pane, which is what I use most of the time. And GitHub renders Mermaid natively in Markdown files. So if your prompts live in a repo, and mine do, more on that in the next video, the diagrams just show up when you view the file. The workflow I'd recommend is this: diagram first, then review, then fix the gaps in the diagram, then write the prompt from the diagram, then test with real calls. The diagram becomes your source of truth, and when something goes wrong on a call, you go back to the diagram, find the node where it went wrong and fix that specific branch. You should also experiment with pasting Mermaid directly into your prompts in the call flow section and just get a feel for how that plays out. Quick note on when this isn't worth it. Not every voice agent needs Mermaid in the prompt or even Mermaid touched at all. If your agent handles 3 call types and each flow is 5 steps long, just write it in text. It's clean, it uses fewer tokens, and the model doesn't need a diagram to follow 5 sequential steps. Mermaid in the prompt shines when you have complex branching and API calls and functions that need to happen. But use Mermaid for planning regardless. Even a simple agent benefits from being mapped out visually before you start writing. It takes 5 minutes and it catches things that you wouldn't otherwise find until you're in a real call scenario. So to recap, Mermaid is a free text-based diagram language that your AI can read and write natively. Use it to plan your call flows before you write the prompt. It catches dead ends, missing branches, and logic gaps that are invisible in text. For complex agents with lots of branching, put the Mermaid diagram directly into the prompt as the call flow instruction. The model reads the nodes, follows the arrows, and treats each box as a step. It's remarkably reliable. And you don't need to learn the syntax. Your AI copilot can generate the diagram from a description or convert an existing prompt into one. Just paste and ask. Now, I've mentioned a few times across these videos that all my prompts live in GitHub and I manage them through a command line tool with an AI copilot. That's the next video. Version control for prompts, diffs instead of rereading an entire document wondering what changed. If you're managing more than a couple of agents, it's a completely different way of working. Subscribe so you don't miss that video. And after that, I want to show you how I would actually debug a failing voice agent. So we're going to listen to a call recording, trace the failure back to a specific section of the prompt or a specific node in the diagram and fix it. Because structure and planning are only half the story. The other half is knowing what to do when something goes wrong on a real call for a paying customer. Thanks for watching.